Have you ever wanted to create your own miniature for a game? Well, I had an idea for a Chibi Cop, so here's how I got started. So I had a sketch of this little Chibi Cop, and I wanted to make it in Blender. I brought in the sketch as a background picture and went to work kind of trying to figure out how big it should be. Then I started laying out just the basic shape of the cop. I started with the torso because I thought that would kind of be the easiest thing to make. Once I felt I had a good shape to that torso, I moved on to the arms. I don't really know if this is the best way to do this, but it seemed to work for me, just making some basic shapes, and then eventually I went in and detailed them later. I think in the grand scheme of things it would have helped to have a side profile picture of my character, but like I said, it was just kind of a sketch I had in a notebook somewhere. With the arms basically in their position, I wanted to make a simple shotgun. This was basically just a layout where everything went, and then I would change it later. In the end, I ended up spending way too much time on what essentially was a placeholder, because I changed this a lot later. So I guess hindsight's 20/20, you know. Once the arms were about set, I moved on to the hips, but then I decided to bounce back up to the shoulders. I'm still in kind of this layout phase, so I'm constantly making little adjustments, making sure everything looks right in my own mind. Next, I moved down to the legs. Same thing, making some simple shapes, adjusting, moving on. Because I picked a character that has a really static pose, I can actually just mirror the legs because they're the same on both sides basically. So I create a part, then I look at the parts around it to see if they still work, and if they don't, then I readjust. Just little tiny things. Again, this is just a basic layout. I'm not doing any details really. So initially I made this helmet this way, and it doesn't really work at all. So I did it this really blocky way, and then I come back and redo it later. Kind of right in here when I'm putting the goggle things on that I noticed how stupid the helmet looked, and it made me think of what to do, but I wanted to finish this part first. I tried to make some adjustments to see if I could fix it, but it doesn't feel right, it doesn't look right. I thought maybe I could fill out the face a bit, actually, puff it up, make some cheeks and a nose, but the helmet just still doesn't work the way it's currently. And this is where I have a recommendation. If it's not working and you don't know how to fix it, move on to something else and come back to it. I wish I had taken that advice because I messed around with this stupid helmet for a really long time, doing some really terrible things to it. And it was just nothing I did to that initial block made it look better. So I eventually hit it and moved on to playing around with the head, trying to make the head a better shape. I then finally started fresh on a new one, a little bit different way this time, and it seemed to work better. I think part of the problem is these SWAT helmets are just such an odd shape that it made it difficult. And I'm by no means a professional in like Blender and stuff, so I'm just kind of playing around with it until something works, because I don't know anything better. I was already feeling better about this one though. It didn't have that huge lip on the front that was an awkward duck bill. It just seemed like it was coming together better. Did a lot of little minor adjustments, trying to kind of round it out to what I thought it should look like. I don't know if there was a better way to do it, but again, it worked for me. This is just another random recommendation. I wish I knew more of the key bindings, so I didn't have to go click buttons every time. I think knowing those would make the process a bit faster. So now I'm going back to those shoulders and trying to figure out how to make the little lips that I have in my drawing. Doing this doesn't quite work, so I kind of start over at a certain point as well. So all that trial and error. Hopefully the next time I make something, then I'll start from that point, so I don't have to make something and then delete it again. But it's all a learning experience, even when you know what you're doing, which I don't. So. Basically, at this point, I think I'm past the blocking in phase, I would call it, and I'm starting to work on the details. That's why I'm spending a lot more time on the shoulder pad, trying to make it what I think it should be, rounding out the edges and such. Should I have started with the shoulders? I don't know. I don't have a very good workflow necessarily. It's just kind of jump around to work on whatever I feel like needs to be worked on at that specific moment. So I get past that shoulder and I start working on the upper arm. Again, just slowly making some details, starting to round it out. This is probably where I should say that knowing anatomy is probably very helpful. I know the basics, but I'm not super great at it. So as you can see, I'm getting into that next level of detail, turning those cubes and rectangles into a little bit better shapes. But now that we've got the basic layout, I think that's a good spot to stop. There will be a number of other parts to this to show the whole process that I went through, and they should all be released now. So please go check them out so you can see the final product. So if you enjoyed this and would like to see more, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.